Alright, what's up, y'all? We're back with another video, another trade, another day, whatever you want to call it. I know I've been slacking for like the past week, 2 weeks with just like posting my stuff and just putting it out there on YouTube for like the 4 or 3 viewers that I actually have. But honestly, price action has been really, really nice. I know the start of summer it was kind of chopped, the moves weren't as clean as I wanted it to be. And then it was also kind of just like we take out a relative high and then just flip in the other direction, take out a rather relative low, and then flip back in the other direction. But I feel like price has really figured itself out. I've seen on like TikTok and Instagram, people have been talking about like NQ's moves just hasn't been clean. They're switching to ES. I don't know what they're talking about. All right, this has been beautiful price action. The past 2 weeks have been great. One of my boys that just started to learn how to trade just got his first ever funded account. Trading with the exact same trades that I take. So that's definitely taken like a good hit on my confidence. But other than that, this is going to be the trade recap for today. All right, going into the news, nothing really crazy. All right, most of these aren't even USD. They're all yellow and orange. All right, nothing crazy. I really did not care about anything that was happening. All right, anyways, looking at the hourly. All right, I will say this is obviously a bearish trend that we're in. All right, overall. All right, we're creating all of these lower highs with lower lows. All right, and this is a 4 hour fair value gap. Right, we're gonna keep that in mind. Okay, so whenever you're trying to find your buys in the morning, I feel like some people would have marked out this 4 hour fair value gap and just be like, oh man, we could really take out this low, and with this 4 hour fair value gap, we're gonna bounce up into that direction. Maybe this is our target for the day. That's wrong. Okay, why is that wrong? This 4 hour fair value gap is already mitigated. All right, it's already been swept. Okay, and if you've traded with me before, you know that when I'm trading, I am not taking mitigated confluences as serious. All right. It's already been ran through by this candle right here. All right. So this 4 hour for value gap means nothing to me. Okay. And then as far as looking at draws on liquidity, sure. We definitely do have this 4 hour for value gap here. All right. And maybe these two relative highs that are really, nearby. But as far as that, we are already in an overall downtrend, right? We have this low, we have this low. This is 2 days previous New York low, and then this is also a New York low from a couple previous days as well. Whole idea is that if we're able to come and sweep this low, we'll probably sweep this one out as well. The only reason why I did not target this low, the ratio for the trade today was like a 1 to 2.5. It was beautiful. It was amazing. All right, I'm going to get into that. But yeah, just looking at this, you should definitely be bearish. If you were bullish today and you tried to long, you are a donut. Okay. But looking at ES does look a little bit more bullish, right? A little bit more of a bullish trend. I will say we have order blocks on both indices. Okay, we have an order block right here, and then as far as NQ, I didn't really. Oh, I do have it marked out. Okay, perfect. I do have both of them marked out. Right, we have this 5 minute for value gap, and then we have this 5 minute order block. Okay, so ideally, what do I want to see price action do? And most days when I start out the chart, right, I have an idea of what I would like for price action to do. It almost never happens. Today, price action was definitely cooperating. Literally everything I want, like 90% of what I wanted it to do. I want to see a big rip up. That is exactly what happened. All right. And let me just like share with you guys my thought process as to what's going on. All right. We just smacked EQ. No, we smacked EQ with the order block, and then we ran through and swept this entire fair value gap. All right. So now I just want to see a move down with a lot of selling power. All right. And that's what we get. Okay. We get that on this candle. This candle is the start of a break of structure. Okay, now I know for a full break of structure, we would need to see a lower high put in as well. But I mean, guys, like this is why everything is so discretionary. Like, you'd have to be a donut to not take this trade. Okay, I understand that we're maybe 2, 3 minutes in the market open, but you can't be scared just because of the time, right? Everything is there. Everything is screaming bearish, right? We just respected both of these confluences. All right, stacked with we just swept these internal lows. Let's say these internal highs. Excuse me, these internal highs right here. All right, sweeping these internal highs. All right, and those two confluences. Those are three things paired on top of each other, right? Including looking at the selling power right here. All right, looking at this 1 minute. This is some insane selling power. So as soon as we kind of came and we came below this low, entered a little bit before candle closure. I think it was like 10, 15 seconds before candle closure. But this was just a really, really, I'm gonna move this over one. There we go. Really, really nice. And then yeah, going into it, we were in drawdown just for a little bit, right? Oh, let me talk about that. Pause. Okay. Stop loss placement and TP placement. All right. I know you guys see that my stop loss is not at this wick, right? Not at this high and not at this fair value gap. Reason being, all right, we just swept both of these perfectly. All right. This previous wick, this is still a high, right? And right, we have a move up and a move down. All right, this is still a high. All right, and this is practically EQ of this order block and damn near EQ of the fair value gap as well. Okay, so with both of those, I did like my stop loss placement right there. And then TP, like I kind of showed you guys earlier, like 2 minutes ago. All right, these previous day New York lows. All right, once we come out and we take these lows, right? I would be, a little bit more of like, okay, let's look for when we can go break even. And as we get closer, I will show you guys, right? So, a little bit of chop, right, in drawdown a little bit, it's fine. And then we start to actually move down a little bit. Now, once I start to see us retrace a little bit, this is when I went break even, okay? Reason being, all right, this is not like reacting out of like fear or anything like that, all right? The whole reason being, all right, is that we just swept both of these, internal lows, okay? After sweeping that, we definitely could have filled, resting orders, done anything, and that could have been enough for us to come back up and, reverse, be bullish for the day, right? So I'm kind of just protecting my trade right here. Went break even. You definitely could have gone and moved stop loss here, but that's not really that big of a point difference, right? That's like a 30-point difference. So just went break even right there, okay? And then as far as the rest of the trade, pretty smooth. This was a relatively faster trade than most days. I think I made like 1,600, close to $1,600 today, plus like the $80 from break even yesterday. All right, so we're definitely up for the week. Okay, this is a beautiful trade today. Loved everything about this. Okay, and yeah, I mean, you just got to be confident with the trades that you take. I do think that price continued to dump after this, but it's fine. This was definitely a safe target in my opinion. Price could have still reversed, and you cannot complain when you hit a 1 to 2.5. Okay, so that was great. Loved that trade. But I mean, if you have any questions or anything like that, you probably have my phone number if you're watching this. If not, comment or something like that, and I will definitely respond. All right. Hopefully tomorrow is better, better than today. I know that's kind of crazy to ask for, but hopefully tomorrow is also just a win. Maybe my boy that just got funded, we can get him a payout. Friday is kind of unreasonable, putting a timeline on it like that, but hopefully within the next week. And then as far as that's about it. All right. So I will see you guys in the next video. All right.